Make some noise for your host, Kid Copious.
What up, perps? It's your boy, Kid Copious, Purple State Party. Going to talk about the California propositions. I encourage you, even if you don't live in California, stick around. Because this is the kind of BS that the Democrats are going to spread everywhere. Just making sure my mic's on. Yeah. So we're going to jump right into it. So there's three main things to look at here. First of all, who is supporting and who is opposing a matter. That's the first thing we need to look at. Second thing we need to look at is what's the lie? What's the hook? These are propositions. Somebody is proposing something, much like a sale. These are used car salesmen we're dealing with. Politicians, special interest groups, people who make money out of the government. And the third thing we need to look at is, will it really work? What are the nuts and bolts? So, we're going to jump right into it here. First thing we see here is, this is J. They want us to vote yes on J. So who supports it? The ACLU and the Democratic Party of LA County, along with the United Way and Health Workers Union. So some unions and the Democrats. Make no mistake about it. This is defund the police. This is how they wrapped up defund the police here in California with Jay. They want to raise the amount of the budget to 10% that LA County spends on these social problems. And they say that, this is years of research and years of planning. What that really translates into is we're just going to spend your money planning and analyzing. Proven track record in success against addressing the root causes of homelessness, poverty, and crime. That's drugs. That's drugs. If you lose your job, if you're a normal person, you lose your job, who are you going to stay with? Let's say you lose your partner. Who are you going to stay with? Friends, family? You could go to a shelter because the shelter's going to say, are you mentally ill? No. Do you do drugs or alcohol? No. Okay, here's a bed. Just abide by our rules. We'll help you out the best we can and get you back on your feet. That's what you can do if you're just a normal person. But if you're a far-gone drug addict or a drunk or have mental issues that you refuse to take medication to correct, you can't really live with friends and family for very long. Eventually, the drugs and the alcohol and the craziness is going to make it so that your host has to ask you to leave. Been there, done that, seen it a bunch of times. Know people who got into it with their landlords, got booted out, went and lived with family, ended up getting drunk, firing off a pistol, had to move in with another family member. That led to a fight. Had to move in with friends, refused to pay rent, refused to clean up, was bringing drugs into the house. There were kids there. Eventually, they now live in a van. That's homelessness. That's how drugs and alcohol get you into homelessness. You spend all your money on drugs and alcohol, so you're poor. And crime, you now need money for your drugs and alcohol. So what are you going to resort to? Crime. It's drugs. It's alcohol. We need to put people in jail or in mental facilities. I find it just so funny that the Democrats had Reagan shut down the mental hospitals, said they were cruel, they weren't run well, blah, 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 blah. So they got shut down, less places to put these people, and they end up on the streets. So now they want, as you can see here, it's cheaper to put them into a supportive housing, it's a fancy word for mental hospital, instead of putting them in jail. Great, okay, so you want mental hospitals back. Okay. What else are we looking at here? Oh, I can see here. Instead of sending a juvenile offender who maybe, shot a rival gang member, we're going to send him to UCLA. I don't understand this. I understand that more money needs to go to these programs, but mandating 10%, $500 million is pork barrel stuff. The people who are supporting this bill are the people who are going to end up being employed with these ridiculous union contracts, and you're going to have all of these little groups that study and analyze. Here in LA, we spent a bunch of money on homelessness, and it went up 18%. Because these are people that are not homeless. They don't have a home. They're criminal vagrants. They're people who have decided that they want to pursue a life of drugs and alcohol and craziness on the streets. That's it. The only way you can get them off the streets is to put them in jail or incarcerate them. If people want help, they will find the help that's out there. The people who don't want the help are the people living on the streets. So, we're going to need to mandate that people get put into these supportive housing. If we started doing some of that, I could see raising the budget. But until you give them the hard choice of jail or, involuntary admission to a mental hospital, we're not going to get anywhere. So you're going to give these people $500 million and they're just going to dick around with it. And it won't work. Excuse me. So then the next one here, 15. This one is one of these ones where they really like to lie. They really like to make it out like this is going to be money for the schools. But what it really is just taxing corporations and businesses and property owners who don't live at the residence. That's really what it's all about. And they even, the people who wrote Prop 15 have even said that they're coming after residential housing next. They want to raise the property taxes so that if you bought a property in 1963 and you're paying taxes on that, we're going to reassess your house and you're going to pay taxes on that. What is it worth now? So all the people in California who bought, say in the 60s, like my parents, and paid $50,000 for their home, and their home is now worth $1 million, they're going to have that increased tax bill. And when they can't pay it, they're going to take the house and a corporation will own it and they will sell it for the maximum amount of profit they can get. Will not help the housing at all. The money will probably not even go to the schools. It will probably get glommed up in Sacramento where it will be used like every other dollar that we give them. We give them a gas tax dollar and they don't fix the fucking roads. We gave them money for homelessness. It went up 18%. They say they're building houses for the homeless. They're costing almost $1 million a unit. It's ridiculous. We can't give them more money. We need them to spend the money they've got smarter. Because this 15 is just going to lead to all kinds of businesses and eventually residents having to leave California, being forced out. The state is forcing people out. What? Sell your property in California, make the profit off of it, and get the F out. And then eventually, what's going to happen? They're just going to sell the houses to people that come in from other countries who don't really care about the politics, I guess. I don't know. And they'll buy up all the property. And they'll pay this massive tax bill that will be coming. Because again, remember the Democrats. They only want the poor to clean their shit and the rich to pay taxes. They don't want the middle class. And 15 is a great step towards that. Companies will leave. Companies will sell their holdings here and move where it's more profitable. There's already lots of reasons for companies to leave California. We're giving them another one. In the middle of this whole effing crisis, we're going to give them another reason to leave. Yeah. Okay. Hurts small businesses and it lacks accountability. Just like everything. When they want to reach into our pockets, there's no accountability. And 21's another one. 21 is just, they try to sell it to you as though it's going to lower the cost of housing, rent control. But what it really is landlords are going to be forced in the worst possible time in history to raise rents to get them up as high as they can before all this crap takes place. And after this crap takes place, it's just going to be more money being spent on bureaucrats, overseers, overlords, whatever you want to call it. It's just more government involvement in people's business. And we know in California, when you let the politicians run the show, you end up with a fucking mess. There's no other way to say it. I apologize. So here's another yes we've got, 22. And why do we need 22? App-based drivers need the flexibility that comes with being independent contractors. This is a great one. Who's supporting this? Gavin Newsom and his AB5. See, the taxi cabs are getting crushed. Taxi cabs mostly run from, point A to an airport. That's kind of what they were designed to do, to an event or to something like that. More of a long distance type drive usually. Uber comes on the scene and the kids can just get on their phone. It's cheaper. And they can take those short 10-minute rides. Now you look at who was supporting it. We said Gavin, and it's him being handed a bunch of money for the taxi cab unions. But to cover that up, he's going to take out your food delivery, your tutors, music, all kinds of different people. They took it so far that musicians and comedians had to file for an exemption, because how would you have a comic? He would have to be the employee of the comedy club. That's how far they took AB5. And 22 is saving mostly concentrating on the app-based drivers. So who supports this? Who's saying yes on this? The police and Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Because services like Uber have cut drunk driving. Because now it's cheaper and efficient to just use an app and to order a car ride for that short trip home and not be charged an outrageous amount. Taxi cabs are far more expensive, especially for a short trip, because taxi cabs are usually trying to hub around where there's a lot of people, like a Disneyland or an airport, let's say. They're not just roving bands of people all over the place who can pick you up in a town, drive you 10 minutes, pick somebody up there, take them somewhere else, and make a whole bunch of little trips. We lose this, and we're going to see Uber just leave. The drivers aren't going to get the benefits, and DUIs are probably going to go up. 23, the worst thing about 23 is that they just keep going after these dialysis clinics. Must be something with a union wanting their piece of the pie. They're trying to put doctor overseers in there. They're not necessary. These people cannot afford to miss an appointment. They have to go in. They have to go to these dialysis clinics. And all they want to do is raise the cost of it. That's all 23 will do, is raise the cost. And dialysis is one of those things that, from the experiences that I've seen, because I've worked at a lot of them, even some of the sponsors here, I've done work relating to systems they have. But a lot of them don't. It seems like it affects the poor or the lower middle class a lot more. And again, that's what Democrats are supposed to be. California should be protecting dialysis clinics, and they're not. They're just allowing it to go through. So, those were a couple of the ones that I really wanted to highlight and talk about. Kind of felt like they deserved a little more extra attention. But I wanted to go through all the rest of them. So we're just going to kind of scroll through these and see where I stand. So we already went through J. 14, stem cell. I'll tell you about that really quickly. Federal government cut off funding for stem cell, so California basically funded a bunch of stem cell research, which is a good thing. But nowadays, there is federal money available, and there's a lot of private money available because they're starting to see some return on investment. So, 15, as you can see right there, increases funding sources for public schools. See, that's what I was saying right there. They make it sound so good, but it's really not. 16, you know what? We don't need to change any diversity laws. We got it right. Right to vote after you get out of prison. No, there's no sense in changing that. 17-year-olds voting, let's measure 18. I don't really care if that passes or not. I'm voting against it because I just don't think we need to change things that way. It's fine the way it is. 19, I like that one. It allows It allows some exemptions and some tax laws for property. 20, I'm voting no on because just don't really even get what they're doing. I feel like that's one of those ones where there's something in there that I'm not seeing. It's scary, and I'd rather just say no on it. That's the truth. I mean, sometimes the lies aren't very blatant. 21, rent control, all of that, no. It's they even say right down on the bottom, depending on actions by local community, less or more. This is something that even if it passes, it's going to affect local communities. They don't even know how it's going to be affected, how they will be affected. 22, we already talked about. 23, again, state requirements. We don't need those. I see laws, yeah, because I'm sick of my information being sold. I'm really sick of all the advertising. And replace bail, no. That 25 is just to let people picked up on the streets, people who don't have any money, can't bail themselves out, no. They need to sit in jail and think. That's the way I look at it. You need to sit and think, So letting them out easier, no. Because they're just, once they get caught, they already know they're going to jail. So now they can just go back out and commit a whole bunch more crimes. That's the way I look. Stock up, make it worth your while, Why go to jail for one crime? Might as well get as much as you can out of it. And putting them back on the streets, we've already seen how that happens. We had a guy locally here who was arrested, released, all in one day. That's ridiculous. He just kept stealing another car because he was already in trouble, So I hope that at least I got through to you an interesting way of looking at things. Not really trying to change people's votes. I don't think I have the power to do that, but I just want people to be smarter. I want you to remember that, this is, a lot of these propositions are about putting money in somebody's pocket, and really, it's usually politicians. And, this year we have 122 that looks like it's going to put money in the pockets of people who deserve to have money put in their pockets, which are hardworking people who have to work a second job, like an Uber driver, works his 9 to 5 and then he goes out and drives. I can't believe we're effing with that right now, man. So that's one, very important. And we need to put an end to this revolving cycle of simply trying to tax the rich and the businesses more and more and more, because that's what sells in California. Because if you start extending that across the world, across the country, you're going to have companies moving across the world, because companies are there to make a profit. And if you're going to tax their property at a higher rate and then skim all that money, they're going to leave the state. That's what's going to happen, folks. This is an important election. We need to let the politicians in Sacramento and LA County and whatever city you might be in, we need to let them know we're tired of this BS. We see what you're doing with our money. You're getting rich, others are getting rich, but I don't see any change in our society or our infrastructure. And that has got to change. Copious out. Bye.